Good evening. Guten Tag, Talofalava. This is Dr. Snow Brown speaking to you all. They said good morning, actually, being the 6th of December 2021. I hope you've all had a very blessed Sunday. I certainly have. I certainly have a very blessed Sunday indeed. And as you can all see, that I thoroughly enjoyed listening to Reverend Dr. Juanita Bainum, and also Reverend Benjamin Quasi, and also the Reverend Tracy Blackmon, and others, and of course, and a few hymns and a few music there on my CKC TV, Church TV. So I hope you all understand now that my Church TV is a church. It is a little meek church, indeed. That's why it's a kingdom. Crystal Kingdom Church TV. And you can see that it is blessed. It is blessed the right way. Despite it accepts gay Christians. It's great, but it is blessed the right way. So those conditions stand, and I'm going to amend those conditions so that people that are entering, that are non-Christians, that will be entering as guests as well as visitors, that's correct, will be able to access my Church TV or intellectual property with the with the proviso, of course, that they're going to pay a donation, that you're not coming in for free, that you're not be coming in for free, that's correct, like you have been privileged to enjoy as free of service, free of charge, that's correct, where you have not made any donations of any sort. Now, as you can see from one particular posting, there is a brilliant, that's correct, example of a snow sheep and a snow shepherd. Yes, pastor. There was a particular pastor there, that's correct. Now, I can't remember his name off my heart, but he was wearing a cap. Like, very similar, sort of backwards, like mine, that's correct. Turn this way. And he's a pastor, Now, did you all listen to him carefully? Did you learn anything from it was 12 minutes? It was only 12 minutes. That's correct. Interesting. Preaching, where he was talking about racism, but also slavery and colonization. And he was giving us all an illustration and also teachings about the situation in America. That's correct. And he also pointed out his own view about a particular book of by Pastor Austin Channing Brown. And of course, you would have, that's correct. So I think my point is, I enjoyed, it was 12 minutes of the very best, the most wonderful preaching I have ever heard. Not only did he, impart or illustrate, gave a great, brilliant illustration of the presence of God and peace and stillness, but he had the gift of meekness that I have never seen. That's correct. I've seen many people out there wearing their caps turned this way, or wearing caps, that's correct. But I have not seen not one soul out there in my local community, not anybody even anywhere else in this region of the country of New Zealand, that has that kind of meekness. And this particular gentleman captured the meekness that I am looking for among my knights and chiefs. That's right, the 150 Days War program out there. And he had it. And his 12 minutes posting that video that's on my CKC TV, that's great. You can all listen again. You'll see, if you listen carefully, and I mean really carefully, because he's a pastor, so he's experienced, he's been a Christian for a very long time, and it seems like he's traveled, many places of the world, that you can certainly hear peace in his heart condition. There is meekness, but meekness is the gift that I see in his heart condition. And also, that's correct, in his spirit. So I guess the reason why I shared with you all that particular video was to let you all know that my congregation, the Snow Can Club congregation out there, they really do exist. They really do exist. And a lot of them that are inside those, a lot of those sermons and services and churches that I share on my CKC TV, that is part of my ministry. Right, among those flocks of sheep and shepherds are members of the Snow Can Club congregation, or are snow sheep and snow shepherds. But other than that, I know that out there in my local community and in this country called New Zealand, that's correct, in America and other parts of the country, other parts of the world, I know that there are snow sheep and snow shepherds among so many flocks and so many denominations. But there are also snow sheep and snow shepherds that are not in any churches and that are not in any flocks of Jesus, but they become part of my church. They become part of my church, my little meek church on Facebook. So what am I going to preach to you all about this evening, or this morning? Donations, of course. That's correct. Donations, donations, donations. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Very, very, very much for your kind donation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, New Zealand. Thank you very much for your kind donation. Never, never, never. I'm still waiting. I haven't got it. It's been 4 years, New Zealand. Where's my donation? Has it where? Has it gone to another country? Dropped in the ocean? Or held, somewhere in the courier company? Where is my donation? That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind donation. Kiwis that never, never, ever arrived. Still waiting. That's correct. This is not on. This is not on, is what I'm saying. From the 11th of January 2018, my company was registered. That's correct. You all know that. So I have been preaching and ministering to you all as a natural pastor, or let's say as Dr. Snow Brown, brackets, natural pastor. That's meek, like a child. So all of you who are thinking right now and probably saying to me, well, she doesn't need any donations because, well, she's not ordained. Well, we don't presume that there is any value in her intellectual property. And also, well, we're not Christians and we don't owe you anything. That's correct. And also, we don't believe in your little kingdom. We don't believe in your little church. And but we don't mind accessing it for free. We don't mind coming in for free. And we see it as being, it's just another TV channel that is free to air, like New Zealand on free on New Zealand on air. So that's why we didn't feel the need that you needed any donations from us. Oh, really? Oh, really? Is that right? And how do you suppose you keep your households, in order? And how do you run your cars and your vehicles every day? Does it run by water? Does it run by avocado oil? Does it run by kiwi fruits? Does it run by food parcels from Salvation Army? Or food parcels from other kind donors? No, it doesn't. You get paid for your services. Now, yes, that's correct. Everything we do in New Zealand, you get paid. People get paid for their services. Whether it's just taking the dog for a walk down the street, or looking after children, that's correct, or caring for the elderly, or either running errands, picking up prescriptions, buying groceries down the supermarket on behalf of the elderly or your rallies, you don't do any of it for free. Do you realize that? You get paid. That's great. So you might get, $20, $50, $100 under the table, minus any, tax or any declaration wages. That's great. Or you might just get, an envelope full of cash somewhere by an anonymous donor. That's great. So what I'm saying is, well, if you can give money to the so-called hungry African children in Ethiopia, that's great, and in South Africa, and even, to so-called the emergency disaster aids in the South Pacific Islands, like Tonga or Samoa or some other island, when they have a, say, like measles outbreak or something like that, or there's an emergency there, thank you very much for your kind donation, New Zealand. That's great. Oh, you give donations. You don't withhold any donations of any sort. That's great. You're very generous, New Zealand. You know who to give your money to? You know who you're not going to, waste your money down the gurgler? Oh, no. You know who to give your $1, $2, $3, and even $5 donations. That's great. Oh, don't say that, that's great. So what's the difference? How come you can't give me not $1, not one dime, not even, I don't know, a food parcel? That would be nice. Or even a box of, spaghetti or something like that. Or a box of, frozen meat. Not even, frozen beans, green beans. That's great. Not even a box of apples. Jesus Christ, what are you? Kiwis, New Zealand, that's great. I thought you were smarter than that. I thought you were generous. But obviously I was wrong. You are the most cruelest country I've ever come across, and the most spiteful one as well. Hey, it's just as well I preach in the manner that I do. After all, I'm a natural pastor. That's what I do so well. And that is why your services have improved in this country. Oh, don't say that I'm going to take the credit for all the improvements and the prosperities and everything that's improved in your country. I will. That's great. I suddenly realize, in all the so-called, in the last 4 years since my ministry, the Maoris have never received so much money all in one go. 750 million. That's great. 56 million. Did you know that? And why is that all of a sudden? Maybe it's because of my rules or my ministry or my logo. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I actually think it was my logo. That's great, because it had Aotearoa New Zealand on it. That Maori people, the people of Crywater, all of a sudden got a lot of money. That's great. Millions and millions. That they generally wouldn't get in that much money. That's great. So I guess the government of New Zealand is showing off to the rest of the world and saying, hey, look how generous we are. Look how good we are at looking after our indigenous people, especially the one that signed the treaty. We give them 750 million. I know Aborigines would never get that kind of amount of money there in Australia. Hell no. I say, why would a bunch of black niggers, that's correct, low class, who are alcoholics, who've got so many addictions, who end up in jailbird, why would we want to give them 750 million? That's correct. To waste our money. They could go on, road tolls or some other, services in the system. That's correct. I guess you're saying is, well, we're not a very racist country. Well, no, we're not a racist country at all, because we are so generous. We know how to look after our indigenous people. Minus nobles, yeah, who deserve those millions, like myself. That's correct. So what I'm saying, New Zealand, is, what is wrong with you? Hey, is it my looks? Or you're saying that there's no value in my intellectual property? And yet, in the last 4 years, say ever since my intellectual property was registered on the 11th of January 2018, you've been taking full advantage of it. Do you know that? You've been accessing it for free. How come There's so many people. I've never seen so many people in my local township and in New Zealand wearing caps, like wearing a cap. That's great. All of a sudden, like mostly this way, like how I wear my cap. That's great. You tell me, New Zealand, what's going on? That's great. Is there some big secret going on? Have you all conspired against this no, in mutiny? Against this noble not to give me my that's right, my donation that I'm entitled to. After all, well, I'm legally registered. Unlike a lot of you, you're not registered at all. That's great. You're unlicensed. You're unlawful. That's great. You lawless son of a guns. That's great. Amazing how they can access your intellectual property for free. I mean, why is everybody wearing pink all of a sudden? I've never seen that many people wearing pink. That's great. Let alone green, let alone the royal blue, but the pink color. I mean, I'm thinking, Jesus Christ. So I suppose they're all presuming that they are a snow sheep and a snow shepherd, or a snow sheep, that they're part of my kingdom. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, I hope not, because how could you if you haven't made any donations? It's great. Right, I'm give you a final ultimatum, Kiwis. Remember, I still live in your country. Yeah. Problem is, when you enter my church TV, you don't see any Kiwi in there. That's great. You don't see any Kiwiana. Or any, Maori culture. There's nothing in there. That's great. Except when you look at the logo, do you recognize the logo? Yes, you do. You do recognize it. Except you won't like the bit of from Deadpool Village. That's correct. But you do recognize it. And I'll tell you this. My logo is very valuable, and it still is. Now, I just decided to amend it that way because, well, they haven't given you any donations. So I don't see the point of, making it pretty. That's correct. Maybe later on I will amend it professionally, meaning type it properly, get it done properly. That's correct. The original. And by removing the so-called Aotearoa New Zealand and amending it to from Deadpool Village. But you can see already that even when I've amended the so-called, the green part of the logo, it's still what? It's still blessed. It's still blessed. That's correct. It is still blessed. In fact, it is so blessed. That is why your country is so blessed. Because of Aotearoa New Zealand. That's correct. My God, did you not see that? Well, sadly, I've moved on from you guys. That's great. Remember, this is an independent state. Crystal Kingdom. That's correct. That is a meat kingdom. This is how I see it. Hey, there's a lot of you who are non-Christians. What are you doing accessing my intellectual property? What are you doing entering Crystal Kingdom Church TV? That's great. Why do you even need to come inside into my kingdom? If you're not going to be generous and if you're not going to respect me and give me a donation. You have until the end of this year, the 25th, Christmas Day, the 25th of December 2021, and then you also have got until the end of January next year, 2022, to give me a donation, But by then, I'll let you know, after I've filed my restraining order, that's correct, and it's been processed, then you can give me a donation. But you've got until the end of January next year to send me a check or send me an email, and I'll give you whatever to send my donation. That's correct. Because after the end of January, that you guys don't give me a donation, right, nobody in New Zealand will ever be knighted by me onto my 3 round tables, but no one in this country is ever to copy my intellectual property, nor apply any of my rules, because I will be leaving your country, and I already am left your country, that's correct. So that means only my private monarch, the people that my friends and my immediate family, but more so my friends, the ones that I choose, like Jesus, who chose his 12 disciples, they're the only ones that will be able to access my intellectual property and use it. That's correct. Because after all, they're the ones that are going to be knighted onto my round tables. That's correct. So you won't be able to hack into my intellectual property. You won't have the privilege of stealing from me. Where you enter my private, address and download the stuff off my digital devices for free. You will not have that privilege when I invoke the restraining order. That's correct. Because I suddenly realized the Kiwis, New Zealand, that you're a bunch of thieves, but you're a bunch of bludgers and users and losers. That's correct. That you dare what? Oh, you wouldn't dare. If this was a Pacquiao looking nice Pacquiao, nice, handsome or pretty looking Pacquiao that owned this intellectual property on Facebook, especially the logo, you wouldn't take them advantage. You wouldn't take advantage of them. You would have given a donation. If they'd asked for a donation, you would have made one. You wouldn't withhold a donation. That's correct. Same with if it was a Maori that owned the intellectual property. Hey, they wouldn't withhold any donation. They wouldn't be that spiteful. And a Scrooge and begrudging. That's correct. And be a real Scrooge. And not give a donation. Give a donation. But here's a newsflash for all of you. You don't tell me how to run my church TV. You don't dictate to the conditions of my church TV. I own the intellectual property. That is my kingdom. But if any of you out there counterfeits or copycats, you cannot do that because I will have you dealt to. That's correct. From a noble's point of view, anybody who goes and uses my logo without my authorization and try to copycat, that's correct. Try to post themselves as Dr. Snow Brown, you will be taken out. You will be put to death. You're not allowed to use my intellectual property. This is a royal's property. That's correct. I own it. You don't do that. You get your own intellectual property. You create your own. That's correct. Right? Your own title, your own identity. Don't steal mine because you won't be able to use it. I'll put a stop to it. I will put a stop to it. That is correct. So for a lot of you who have been accessing my church TV when you shouldn't, because you are not what? You're not a Christian and you're not a noble. That's right. So the only people that should be able to access my church TV are those that are from noble families, royals. That's correct. Or that have got some sort of elite status. Or are noble Christians. Now, of course, noble Christians could only be reborns. That's correct. As for the rest of you commoners, don't enter. You do not belong there. That's correct. If you're just going to use it for you, so just to give you a good feel rush, a good feeling, or give you high self-esteem, or give you a boost of some sort, don't access my kingdom and don't enter, because that is so disrespectful and disgusting. That's correct. That intellectual property is owned by this natural noble master here, this noble. But you all need to respect me and give me a donation. And you also need to respect my boundaries, which is there is to be no hacking and dictating to my intellectual property. But a lot of you are still doing that. You punks and ratbags, you son of a bitches, that's correct. And you got the nerve, that's right. To think you can, continue on down that road where you take from me, take from a noble, but without payment. That cannot happen. It cannot continue on this way. If it's a private monarch in a private kingdom, you must pay. You must pay for my services. You know that. Just take a look at all those ordained shepherds whose sermons and services I share on my CKCTV. They're respected, but they're paid for their services. They don't do it for free. They don't put their lives, not for anybody, for free. That's correct. My Lord didn't shed his blood for free. No, he got his reward. He was rewarded for his mission. That's correct. He ascended to a throne and he received everything that every privileges that a noble deserves. Now, when a natural noble pastor like me, when somebody like myself, like this meek noble here, ascends to a throne to the right-hand side of my God, which is Queen Snow Brown, and that means of my Lord, or my Heavenly Father, to the right-hand side of that's great, then I should be paid, then I should be respected and be given my donations when I ask for donations. Now, I don't have to do it according to your way. I don't know what it is going on, but you guys, there's something definitely not right about you Kiwis. Being so spiteful, but withholding a donation. It's unheard of. It's unheard of. I have never heard of people of your caliber, but a nation such as your nation, to be so stupid, but to be so thick, but also to be so bloody ignorant. And also cruel, and really cruel. That's correct. To not give you a donation. Hey, would it be nice to get a car or something? But for you to give nothing at all because of your spitefulness and your prejudice and racism, and thinking that I don't have a problem. No, you guys are the problem. That's great. I suddenly realized that this country doesn't deserve no, they don't deserve Dr. Snow Brown. All the evils that they do in the background, and all the dictatings, arbitrary dictatings, they don't deserve nothing from you. That's correct. You need to move on. I already moved on, but I'm now giving you a last warning. Last opportunity. That's correct. Because I know that there's probably a very few worthy people in this country that do deserve to be knighted, to become my knights and chiefs. But unfortunately, it looks like there aren't any in this country, and that nobody qualifies in this country. But don't you dare say that I've got a sickness. What is my sickness? Assertiveness and confidence and being faithful isn't a sickness. That's great, but being a director of a company that's actually a very special company, it's not a crime to ask for donations. In fact, I'll share with you all at the moment. I had at one stage I became a beneficiary, the sole beneficiary of $4 million. That's great. Donation from a Li Ka Shing donation. That's great. And I've got the proof of it here in my hand. It almost happened. Unfortunately, I said the wrong thing. And Mr. Li Ka Shing, well, of course, changed his mind. But there's the donation. There's the certificate. That's correct. From the $4 million donation. From the Marceline Law Chambers of United Kingdom, 151 Catherine Street, Sandon, London, United Kingdom, deed of guarantee. On this day, 24th September 2021, I, Barrister Thomas Harvey, the legal advisor to the Chong Kong Holdings, herein guarantees name Elmarilli Eileen Treviranus, that's right, reference number, country New Zealand, the sole beneficiary of $4 million from the ongoing Li Ka Shing donation promotion. So there we go. Regards, Attorney Thomas Harvey, legal advisor. So I almost got this donation. The catch is you have to pay a fee. That's correct. To have a donation from any benefactor from overseas, to receive it. So am I legally within my rights to receive donations? Well, yes, indeed. In fact, there is no law against anyone being a beneficiary to any benefactor. Now, he's a billionaire, Li Ka Shing, that's correct. He's a well-known businessman from Hong Kong. Now, I didn't know who he was at the time. When I got given the donation, he sent me an email, that's correct. I had no idea. And it wasn't until afterwards that I discovered he's actually a famous billionaire, that's correct. But of course, I said the wrong thing, and next thing you know, well, he cancelled. We withdrew his donation. I said to him, well, obviously he wasn't genuine. Obviously he wasn't genuine. So from now on, anybody who gives me a donation, I will mention it on Crystal Kingdom Church TV, and I will say thank you. Now, I won't release the name of the person that sent me the donation. That's correct. Unless, of course, they, give me their authorization that it's okay, because I'd have to get their consent that it's okay for me to release the name of their company or their name, their legal names for the donation that they sent to my company, that is actually a private ministry on Facebook. That's correct. So that's all I got to say now, New Zealand. I want you all, see if you can beat Li Ka Shing. That's correct. Because right now, my list of donations is empty. Let's see if you can beat this Li Ka Shing, because obviously he didn't have the X factor that Queen Snow Brown was needing and my Lord was needing. Because the way I see it, if somebody makes a donation, then be generous, but no, go all the way. Because if you cancel it and you withdraw it, well, then that tells me you're not the right person. You're obviously not the right person to donate the donation to my private company, because I'm a royal. That's correct. And I'm a private kingdom. And as a royal, I deserve that $4 million US donation. That is correct. Because after all, I'm a full royal. And royals, that's correct, deserve donations of that caliber and at that level. And remember, Li Ka Shing, that's correct. He started off what? Well, I mean, the humble beginnings. You started off with $6,000 million. That was from your relatives, of course, to start your company off. That's correct. You created a company. And, of course, and what else? And you were a dropout of school. You didn't finish school. That's correct. Of course, I've got a degree. Well, I don't know. You probably got a degree in business. I guess what I'm saying is that Li Ka Shing, despite he's a billionaire, that's correct, and he's a very, very wealthy man, and he's got integrity in the business world. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have the integrity that my Lord actually has, and that the integrity that this noble has. That's correct. That's correct. So his his heart is not in the kingdom. His soul and his heart is in his wealth, Mr. Li Ka Shing. That's correct. Whereas my heart and my soul is in my kingdom. So it's going to take the right benefactors. It's going to take the right people to make donations to my kingdom, to my private kingdom. And I guess the only persons that ought to be making donations to my private company are royals, are other nobles, or other royals, or other elite people, very powerful, important people. Overseas, that's correct, because New Zealand doesn't have it. I'm a registered company. And there's a lot of businesses that have been, that have, faltered. Or that have failed during the COVID-19 because of the fact that, well, they just couldn't deal with the pressure. They just couldn't handle the pressure. That's correct. And a lot of people also lost a lot of their jobs and were laid off because, business just didn't prosper. Business just didn't prosper. It couldn't prosper during COVID-19. But you see how the people of Aotearoa actually prospered during COVID-19? They got $750 million from the government of New Zealand and $56 million and other millions as well. Yeah, what is that? What do you call that? That a very small number of this country, which is only 800,000 of them, prospered during COVID-19 by the government. And yet every other business, every other company, and everybody else were struggled. That's correct. Did not prosper financially or did not gain financially. But look what happened. I actually think that this country, prospered, did did prosper during the COVID-19. A lot of people during the government, during the economy as well as that actually did prosper. Well, I can tell you right now that local businesses, especially the supermarkets, here in my local township of Upper Hutt, Upper Skatihati I call it, prospered during COVID-19. They made billions, they made millions. But of course, they're worth billions, that's right. Like the likes of Pack and Save, Countdown, and of course, I genuinely don't, make a lot of takeaway orders. But I actually, blessed a lot of the takeaway businesses here locally. Domino's Pizza, that's great. I ordered a lot from their company, from their franchise business. The other one was Burger King, that's correct. KFC, Golden Star. So there were a lot of takeaway businesses, with eateries, or fast food outlets here in Upper Hutt that actually prospered during COVID-19. Thanks to me, thanks to Dr. Sir Brown. Now, what I'm saying is now, Kiwis, New Zealand, you guys owe me a donation, but you need to pay now. You cannot continue on coming in, using it and accessing it for free, because it's not free. This is a private monarch and a private company. And I need you guys to step up. I need you guys to be responsible, but also you need to make that donation, because otherwise, you guys, that's the end. That's the end. I might take down the logo. I'm seriously thinking of taking it down and closing my Facebook page. That's correct. But sadly, hey, I'm genuine. But it's just as well, my heart is in my kingdom, so I could never close my kingdom. That's great. My heart is not in wealth and money. My heart is in my soul, is in my kingdom. But you've got to understand something now. People out there have got livelihood. Hey, I need to prosper. I need to live, but I need to prosper. And this cannot continue on this way. So I hope that when I tell you that I've filed my restraining order and that I've had it processed, that you'll finally make a donation, that you'll finally decide to make a donation. Because I can tell you right now, when I leave New Zealand, you're going to see the difference. You're going to see the difference. I am going to prosper. I'm going to prosper financially for the very first time. As for your country, well, I don't know what's going to happen. But now I know that you did steal my intellectual property back in 2006, New Zealand. That's correct. And I'm talking about who? Oh, it's definitely my rallies, Mr. Willow's so-called criminal connections is correct. MNB? KKK? That's correct. You stole a copy of my play back in 2006. About November, that's correct. So that's why you gave me the second nosebleed. Right. Because the doctors, the so-called medical file will prove it, that was torture. But that was a KKK harmful protocol. You see how you stole a copy of my play? And then you came in and set me up with the order of supervision. That's right, on the 22nd of May, 2007. So that's why you gave me that order of supervision. It was because you stole something that was very valuable and very rare, which was my play. That's correct. So then you decided, once you got your hands onto that special, because you knew, and I know that you would have consulted my rallies about that intellectual property, that copy of my play. You then wanted to study me. You then wanted to take ownership of my play, my intellectual property. That's correct. How did you go about doing that? Well, you had me set up via the two officers, the way they served the trespass notice. And then, of course, you arrested me off the park bench on the 22nd of May so that you could give me the order of supervision. That got me declared insane or, with some sort of mental disorder. That's correct. That was actually a lie. And, of course, then you wanted to study. But you also used that order of supervision to try and cover up the crime That's right. It happened to me in 2003, where the police officer not only tortured me, but also violated me during the lockup. That's correct. So there was another reason why you also gave me that order of supervision. So the first one was to so that you could take ownership of my intellectual property, was my play, my ideas. That's correct. The second was to cover up the sexual assault or the violation of me during a lockup. That's correct. That you didn't want me to remember. That's correct. And thirdly, you wanted to convert me into a slave, meaning you wanted to own me like a chattel. So that what you could dictate, so that you could apply your arbitrary dictatorships to me in the future. And this is what's happened, and this is actually what's happened. And this is why people in this so-called stupid country will not make any donations. It's because you, stupid, arsehole, wanker, bastard, arrogant son of a bitches, have taken control, have taken full control, that's correct, of my privileges, and you've got no right to do that, Mr. Willow. And that goes for the officer as well. But I mean, you guys are KKK. You guys are definitely KKK. Man, you suck. You guys suck. The fact that I thought these sort of, strategies would have ended barbaric sort of superiority and barbaric, strategies would have finished in 400 years ago with the African Americans. That's correct. Where they stole, took advantage of the African Americans' intellectual properties, any intellectual properties that they produced, the white man or the white nigger there in so-called America would use it, would take the credit, would not only use it to empower themselves, but they would also take the credit for it. You disgusting son of a bitches. But they're lazy son of a bitches, all right. And I'm talking about the KKK. You guys ought to fucking be put to death. That's correct. For all the evils that you do. Stealing other people's intellectual properties. Entering their addresses unlawfully. Gaining access, and yet the government gives you that privilege. Government actually supports your harmful protocols. Yeah, sadly. Where you can enter somebody's address, download their so-called, intellectual property. Anything that off their so-called computer and take ownership, and of course you steal it, go and use it and empower yourselves, and then you study the so-called poor victim for a very long time, where you might actually drug them as well, unlawfully, through some psychiatrist that could only be an associate. And even the judges in the court are their associates. My God, KK, you guys are the biggest fucking losers on the planet. That's great. And yet you think you're so smart and intelligent, and yet if you didn't gain access to people's addresses, let alone digital devices, you wouldn't be so fucking smart now, would you? Or you wouldn't know so much, that's correct. But you wouldn't be so empowered now, and you wouldn't have prospered either. Let alone be in control of a lot of our so-called, that's correct. And apply and dictate, eh? Oh, you guys are the son of a bitches, all right? A sight for sore eyes and sore losers. It's a good thing that you got the white skin and the handsome look, the blue eyes, the blonde hair, the good looks. That's correct. So convincing. It's so fucking convincing. But in my eyes, as a natural noble pastor and as a German, that's correct. You guys ain't nothing more than just bloody losers, lazy son of a bitches. That's correct. Bunch of whores as well. That's correct. Because you fuck anything to get whatever you want. That's correct. And greedy guts as well. You ain't nothing more than just demons who deserve to go to their graves, indeed. But you wouldn't want me to order the Nazi soldiers to take you out, because I could. I being the leader of Dead Bull Village. That's correct. The leader of Germany. That's correct. I got the power. I know how to. But you wouldn't want me to go to war against you now, the KKK. That's correct. Up against the Snow Gun Club? Seriously? Do you think it's a joke? Do you think it's a joke that I'm going to file a restraining order against the president of Moku Mob Association? Do you think it's a joke that I serve a trespass notice to His Royal Highness the Mighty King? Let alone, Chief Justice Matthew Palmer. Do you think it was a joke? Did I serve a trespass notice to Cardinal the Bishop? That's great. John Jew. Do you think that was a joke? Now, do you think it's a joke that I'm going to file a restraining order and add the government's name on it? Do you think it's a joke now? As well as, add the so-called KKK? Remember, KKK, you got a bad reputation, all right? They sure do. Do you remember that you got disbanded and dissolved in America? A while back, that's correct. And why was that? Oh, because you did some really evil crimes, heinous crimes, that's correct. Now this time, my God, you target somebody that wasn't even a member, not even an associate. How fucking stupid is that? That's right. Now you fucking owe me. How much are you worth anyway in this country? You worth 50 million? Can you afford? You can afford for me to seize all your assets and everything else you got. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those things are stolen anyway. Did you think I would want stolen hot stuff? From a bunch of losers, I'd rather have put you all to death. That's right. Or every one of you that conspired against this noble because of your jealousy. And also because of your spitefulness, because, you're not so special, you're commoners. That's correct. Do you think I would want anything from any of you? Hell no. I've got my own stuff, that's right. But you need to stop stealing from me. And taking advantage. Use me to jump off like a trampoline, that's right. Get your own stuff, eh? And I'm talking about UKK, and it includes my rallies as well. With their so-called nutty, crazy, Looney Tune, Red Demon. You guys need to get the fuck out of my kingdom. You don't belong there, but I want you to disconnect every other stupid gadget, whatever network that is connected to my Facebook in the background. That's correct. You need to get the fuck out. I don't know you. You're a stranger. I'm a rat bag and a punk. And I don't need nothing from you. But all these years you've been stealing and stalking and harassing me. That's correct. But as for your order of supervision, you need to take back all those decisions you gave me. I didn't deserve any of it. I'm not some fucking, guinea pig or a disease that you need to put under a microscope whenever you feel like it. I didn't donate myself to your, that's right, to your organization, like how they donate dead bodies to the medical students for their examination or whatever, or experiments. Oh, you wouldn't want the same thing to happen to you now like the Jews, would you now? Like World War II? Second World War II? Do you want that to happen to you? As it looks like the Nazi soldiers, there's nothing to stop them from applying the same medicine. But they sure do deserve it. The fact that they murder people, they rape people, that's correct. They kill people, they poison people, they give people cancer. They even, when you operate on people, you make deliberate mistakes. That's correct. That amounts to death. Man, you guys are the most evil son of a bitches on this planet. That's correct. You control every aspect. You create chaos. That's right. You name it. So why do you think that my Snowcan Club won't take you out, or let alone declare war? I sure as hell would. That's correct. But I would rather leave this country peacefully. But I would rather give you also a restraining order. Get it? A restraining order. Because you guys have no scruples, you got no boundaries, got no respect. You name it. I'm a noble. I know who I am. I ain't no dumb coconut. That's correct. Although I could try to look like one, but I ain't no dumb black nigger either. No little dumb brown nigger. I've been around, all right. Indeed. Right. Donation, people. Pay up or move on or say the fuck out of my Facebook. My CKCTV. Or get the hell out and stay out. That's correct. Move on and move on. I don't need anything from you guys if you ain't gonna respect me. That's correct. You have a nice morning now. Take care. Oh, and if you're kind with your so-called prayers, yeah, donate one in my direction, because it looks like I'm gonna need it. Right. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.